Why does a simple comment feel like an attack? Why does being corrected feel harder than being wrong? Those reactions have a name: ego. Ego shows up the moment a person feels questioned, reduced, or exposed. Not loudly, not aggressively, instantly. Most people think ego belongs to arrogant people or confident ones. It doesn't. Ego exists in everyone. It's the internal image you depend on to feel steady in the world. That internal image answers a quiet question running in the background of your mind. Who am I right now? And am I still okay being that? As long as that image holds, life feels manageable. Feedback feels neutral. Mistakes feel temporary. But the moment that image is challenged, the response is automatic. A remark feels sharp. A correction feels personal. A failure feels exposing, not because the moment is severe, but because the self-image feels fragile. Ego is not about pride, it's about protection. It guards the traits you believe define you: your intelligence, your competence, your status, your sense of worth. These traits stop being descriptions, they become anchors. When someone questions them, ego reacts before logic arrives. It defends before understanding has time to step in. This is why feedback lands differently depending on who gives it. Why praise only feels good when it confirms what you already believe. Why criticism hurts most where confidence is weakest. People often confuse ego with superiority. In reality, ego becomes strongest where certainty is thinnest. The more tightly someone holds an identity, the more sensitive they become to anything that threatens it. Ego also explains why people resist change, even when change would help them. Change requires admitting the current version isn't complete. And ego resists revision. It prefers familiarity over truth, stability over growth. This is why people defend habits they no longer enjoy, beliefs they've outgrown, roles they no longer fit. Because letting go doesn't just change behavior, it rewrites the story they live inside. Once ego becomes attached to a story, it works to preserve it, not by lying outright, but by filtering. It highlights what supports the image and downplays what threatens it. This is why people justify mistakes instead of examining them. Why they explain rather than listen. Why they feel the urge to defend even when no accusation was made. Ego turns conversations into negotiations, not about truth, but about position. Who is right? Who is competent? Who holds authority? When ego feels stable, disagreement is manageable. When ego feels threatened, disagreement feels unsafe. This is where ego begins to shape behavior in subtle ways. People interrupt more. They correct small details. They shift blame. They need the final word, not because they enjoy conflict, but because resolution restores balance. Ego also changes how people relate to success. Success doesn't always calm ego. Often it sharpens it. Each achievement becomes something to maintain. Each win raises the cost of failure. The identity hardens. I am the capable one. I am the smart one. I am the successful one. When these labels solidify, mistakes feel dangerous. Failure feels like collapse, so ego tightens its grip. This is why some successful people become rigid. They protect their image more than they explore new ground. They avoid risks that might reveal limits. Growth slows, not because they lack ability, but because ego refuses exposure. Ego also affects relationships. It struggles with vulnerability. It prefers admiration over understanding, agreement over honesty. This is why ego resists apology. An apology requires lowering position. It means admitting fault without control. For ego, that feels like loss. Yet ego is not the enemy. Without ego, identity dissolves, direction disappears, boundaries blur. Ego gives structure. It allows people to function, decide, and persist. The problem begins when ego stops being flexible. When it defines worth instead of supporting it, when it treats every challenge as a threat, when it turns life into defense. Change begins not by destroying ego, but by loosening it, by allowing identity to bend without breaking, by letting mistakes inform rather than define, by separating who you are from how you performed. When ego softens, something shifts. Feedback becomes information, not judgment. Disagreement becomes dialogue, not danger. Failure becomes experience, not exposure. The goal is not to erase ego. The goal is to stop letting it run the entire mind, because the strongest people are not those with no ego, but those whose ego no longer needs to fight for its place.